Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Heather Gregg Reed. I'm Director of Student Engagement here at CEA CAPA, and today I'm joined by some of our awesome alumni and on-site students to answer all of your questions about preparing for study abroad. So we're going to get started here in a second. I can see people still coming in the room. I always like to start by explaining a couple of ground rules. So you can see us panelists here. We won't be able to see you or hear you, those of you that are in our audience as participants. But if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a box that says Q&A. So this is where we would love for you to drop any questions that you have for our panelists. I'm going to be keeping an eye on those and pulling some of them up for our panelists to address. We also have some of our awesome CEA CAPA team members here today joining us from our internship team and our enrollment team. So you might also see if anyone has any kind of technical questions about CEA CAPA programs, they may be in the chat box answering those questions in real time. But we're very excited to be joined by our wonderful panelists today and really looking forward to the conversation. So with that in mind, I want to get it right over to the panelists. And I'd love to have you all introduce yourselves by sharing your name, your US institution, your major, and where you studied abroad and when. So Camilla, can I hand it over to you to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Camila. I'm a current student here at Rollins College in Florida. I'm studying international business with a minor in data analytics. And last semester, so fall semester, I was abroad in London and I did the internship program.
Thanks, Camilla. Vova, can I hand it over to you next?
Yes, you can. So my name is Vova. I'm an international student from Ukraine and currently studying in St. Olaf College in Minnesota. I'm an art history and psychology major with a minor in education, and I studied in Sydney and I had internship in there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Vova. Michaela, can I hand it over to you next?
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm a current junior studying writing at Syracuse University, but I'm currently studying in Barcelona, Spain for the spring 2024 semester.
And huge shout out to you, Michaela, for joining us at 9 p.m. Barcelona time. I know really that's about the time everyone's going to dinner anyways, but thank you so much for being with us live from on site. Simi, can I hand it over to you next?
Yes, hi, I'm Simi. I go to the University of Michigan. I'm a sophomore. I'm majoring in biology with a minor in physics, and I studied abroad in Granada, Spain in the spring of 2023.
Awesome. Thanks, Simi. Ren, over to you.
Hi, my name is Rin. I'm a second year at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I study industrial engineering. And I studied abroad in Paris for 2023.
Wonderful. Thank you guys all so much for sharing who's in the room today. Very excited to chat with you guys. I always love to kick off these conversations by keeping the study and study abroad. I would love to open it up to you all to share something about either your academics or your internship abroad, something that you really enjoyed about that aspect of your time abroad, or something that you'd love to share about how it's kind of connecting back to your degree in the US or your professional plans. So I'm going to open up the floor for anyone who'd like to chime in and share a little. Vova, I saw you come off mute.
You see, I'm just gonna jump in. So, as I said, I did internship in Sydney, and my internship was in National Art School of Sydney because I'm an art history major. So for me, it's kind of like perfectly correlated with like what I want to do in my professional life. And in general, for me, it was just nice opportunity to have an internship because like for me as an international student, I need to like do a lot of paperwork to actually start an internship in the States. And I didn't want it to do that. So for me, it was just way easier to actually like get on site in Australia and start working there. And at the same time, because I did internship like during my fall semester in study abroad, I had the whole summer free. So guys, like recommend 100%.
I love it. Thanks, Vova. Who else would like to chime in?
I can go ahead. I studied abroad in Granada and I was taking Spanish classes there. I was basically finishing my Spanish credit for the university. And I'm on the pre-optometry track, look like pre-health, all sort of that type of stuff. And it has helped with like my fluency in Spanish. I feel like if I had taken it at the university, I wouldn't have been as immersed in like the culture and everything. And I was speaking Spanish every day, so obviously it's easier to get better. And I still have like a lot that I've learned from like in Spanish, even though I don't practice anywhere near as much as I did when I was there. So it definitely was better to study abroad when learning the language.
Thanks, Simi. Camilla, I saw you come off of mute. Would you like to jump in as well?
Yeah, so I did the internship as well. My minor is in data analytics, so my internship was main focus on a wholesale company, and I was able to do all the data analytics for the company so they can make decisions and everything. So it was really applying to what I want to do in the future. And I was able to use programs as SQL, Google Analytics, and those programs, I'm going to use them in my future career and in future jobs. And now I'm using it in my classes. So it's like being a little bit ahead of everyone else. So it's kind of nice that I already experienced it in real life. And also one of my favorite things about my internship is that London is a super multicultural city. So in my office, I have people from all over the world, and it was very, very cool to experience such a diverse workspace because that really helped and opened my horizons or on how to work in a with everyone and from people from all over the world, from different cultures, and it was very, very cool.
Thank you for sharing that, Camilla. I want to make sure everyone else has a chance to share
Yeah.
about their academics, but I saw a question come in that it's perfect timing. Camilla, somebody was asking about the day-to-day of what's an internship really like. Do you want to chime in for a minute and share a little bit about what your day-to-day experience was in your internship?
Yes, so I went to the office on Tuesdays in person half day, and then Thursdays I did full day, and then Fridays I did online. So that was how my schedule looked like. And it was very cool. I just went to the office, had my decks, the people, I have my tasks to achieve like every week. I have my supervisor, and they were super helpful all the time. And I was lucky because my office was just a 15-minute walk from my flat, well, my apartment. So that was super, super nice.
Thanks, Camilla. Vova, anything you want to add while we're chatting internships?
Yeah, I mean, I was tiny bit less lucky than Camilla because I need to take a bus to reach my internship, but like it kind of helped me in a way to like explore the city more at the same time. And when I was at my internship, I also had like a private desk and like supervisor who was always like telling me what to do. But at the same time, I had actually a lot of free time to explore when I was in art school because there was a lot of different aspects, and they knew that I was not a professional like art teacher or something. So that just allowed me to like work tiny bit in a gallery, work tiny bit in like a marketing department. So like internship usually will just give you an opportunity to kind of try out different things in the area which you want to like work at. So if you will go and get an internship, just don't expect too much because they probably will not give you too much, but at the same time, they will just allow you to explore different possibilities as well. And I'm pretty sure you will have a lot of free time because sometimes when I was in my internship, I was working there at the same time, but they told me like, we didn't have a lot of work afterwards, so you can just go and like rest somewhere. So like a lot of times I just like going on the beach and just lying there and like working online from there as well. So yeah.
Sounds awful, Vova. I hate that for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Michaela, could I hand it over to you? I'm super curious to hear how are things going on site in Barcelona, especially about your academics, but anything else you want to share?
Yeah, it's been really awesome. My class schedule is really nice. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm done by 10 in the morning. So I really have the entire day to just explore. And I also am in a Spanish class right now. So it's been really nice to leave my Spanish class and then go just explore the city and use what I'm learning. And I definitely can attest to Spanish in Spain is definitely helping me a lot more, like learning from the locals here. And we also do a lot of field studies. So being able to get out of the classroom and practice my Spanish with locals in Barcelona and not just staying in the classroom has also been really cool.
I love that. I love that both you and Simi were talking about kind of your experience in Spain taking Spanish classes. We had someone ask if anyone here had studied in Alicante, and while we don't have any Alicante alumni joining us online today, I also wanted to highlight for audience participants, if you visit the CEA CAPA website, we actually have a directory on the website that shows all of our awesome alumni ambassadors. So I would highly encourage anyone who wants to learn more about Alicante, go check out our alumni ambassadors that did study abroad there. I'm sure they would love to answer any questions that you have. Ren, I want to make sure we get a chance to hear from you as well. Can I pass it over to you to talk a little bit about your academic experience?
Yeah, so I took some engineering courses in Paris and also some GEs. And I think definitely like taking an engineering class, like even though they were like only a little awkward, like it really helped me stay on track. I feel like especially that's like an obstacle for like a lot of engineering students just because they have to stay on top, and then if they fall behind, then that's kind of bad. So I feel like it really helped in being staying on track with taking engineering courses. So.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because there are many different types of majors that students assume aren't available for study abroad. STEM majors, that's definitely kind of the top of the list. They think that there aren't classes available for their majors. There aren't opportunities like internships that apply to them. But that's often not true. So just a note to everyone in the audience to say, if you are worried that you might not be able to find a program that fits your need, reach out to us and let us know, because often we can help you find something that, just as Ren said, will help you stay on track with your major while still allowing you to have the awesome experience of studying or interning abroad. Well, there's definitely more questions rolling in, and one of them aligns perfectly with where I wanted to go next anyway. So the question was, how is it adjusting to a new culture? So I'm going to ask that, and while you're thinking about it, I'd love to add a secondary question, which is, what's something that you all did to connect with the local community and culture while you were abroad, or Michaela, that you are currently doing? So thinking all things culture, all things local engagement. Anyone want to jump in and share a little bit?
I can share something I did to like dive into the culture. And my professor was actually a professional flamenco dancer as well. So she actually signed us all up for flamenco dances, like the classes. So we started doing those weekly, and that was a way that I connected with the culture because there was a lot of like other people learning class because they were very beginner classes. So it was really fun. And we used to go out for tapas afterwards. That was one way I really connected with the culture. Was I think it was every Tuesday we did that.
I love that. Anyone else want to? Boba.
So for me, my internship was having a lot of different events where we just invite a bunch of local people. Like there was a lot of like Australian celebrities, which I didn't even know they were like celebrities and stuff. So it was pretty funny to connect with them. But I also did, because I'm an international student, for me it was important to connect with my own personal culture. So I researched a lot of like, so I'm from Ukraine. I researched a lot of like Ukrainian centers, and like there's actually a bunch of them for like even US people, but like by state, which is like pretty interesting for me. So you can find out a lot of different events like that to connect with them. So I personally, my internship helped me with that the most. But for a lot of people who went to the study abroad program with me, just basically researching on Facebook and finding groups of people who are like from similar place as you, or like something like that, helps you to connect with them as well.
I love that. And I love, that's a great piece of advice I love sharing with students in general. It may not be an obvious thing, but a really cool way to experience the culture is by connecting through an interest that you have or part of your own identity through the lens of the place that you're studying abroad. So I love that you had that experience, Boba.
And it's more interesting and more comfortable as well, like that. Less pressure.
I totally agree. Anyone else want to chime in? All right. We can always come back to the question. I see you all thinking about it. Similarly, on that topic, thinking about CEA CAPA in general, but also specifically while you were on site. I'm curious if anyone can speak to your experiences in the way that CEA CAPA offered support, if anyone would like to comment on the process of like attending orientation or doing excursions with CEA CAPA. I know students tend to have a lot of questions about who exactly we are and how we're involved in your study abroad experience. So can I open it up to the floor for anyone who'd like to chime in on that?
Yes,
No.
I can answer that. honestly, CA CAPA just make everything so much easier. Like, I know studying abroad can be very stressful. You're going to a different country, you have to align academics, your classes, maybe an internship or whatever. So can be very stressful and overwhelming. And really CA CAPA like plans everything for you. When you arrive, you already have your housing, your roommates assigned, they give you orientation on the first day so they can answer any questions you might have. You get to know everyone on the program that day. And yeah, it's just ready for you when you arrive. And throughout the whole semester or summer, or whatever period term you decide to go, everyone is always there to support you. For me, I'm a swimmer here as well. So as an athlete, I have to find a pool, go to a gym and get a membership and everything. And they were always super supportive, like, oh, there's a pool here, you can get the membership here, there's a discount here. And they always ask me, oh, how are things going? So it was super nice to always feel supported there. So I'm very thankful for that.
We love to hear that, Camilla. Would anyone else like to jump in and share your thoughts? Ren?
Yeah, so I love like I had to go through like the visa process to go to Paris first, and the CEA CAPA staff was able to help me like navigate through that, like even before going abroad. And when we got there, we had like an orientation week where they presented us with like all the city information, and then like took us on like little tours. And if we had any questions about housing, or what's a good cafe to study at, then we would always go to the front office staff, and then they were super helpful. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ren. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, hi. I unfortunately got COVID one of my first few weeks here in Barcelona, and I was very anxious about going to a Spanish doctor, and having to deal with the international insurance and everything. But CA walked me through every single step of the process. I was able to, once I had already gotten care, I was able to go into the study center, and they walked me through every step of filing a claim through the international insurance. And they were very supportive. So they made the process very easy. So even if some obstacles come in the way, it's really nice to know that if anything does happen, they're always going to be there.
I love that. On a similar topic of all things CEA Kappa, I see we had a question about housing, and Victoria was able to provide some kind of staff perspective on it, but I'd love to open it up for anything anyone wants to share about housing or the neighborhood that you are located in, or just kind of generally the experience of what it's like living abroad, because it is so different than just visiting as a tourist. Anyone want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I can share a little bit. I was very lucky to be placed in a super nice apartment. It was super new, it was very nice. And I just had one roommate, and we turned out to be super best friends. I miss her so much. And it was so nice. My neighborhood was a very young neighborhood. There was a lot of markets, vintage shops, so it was like perfect for college students to live there. So it was very good placement. The apartment was very nice, and the roommate situation was great as well. So in my experience, it was very, very good.
That's wonderful. Please feel free to, I'd love for anyone else who wants to chime in on the subject of housing. There's some other questions coming in that are related. So if anyone, while you're talking about housing, wants to talk about how you were able to connect with other students in your program while you were on site, and to provide some context, because I know that's a question a lot of people have is, will I be lonely abroad? What will it be like? How will I make community connections when I'm leaving my own community here at home? So anyone want to comment on anything on any of those topics? Vova?
You know me, I already unmuted myself. Um, so about housing in general, like but in Sydney, I liked my housing. It, to be honest, was even better than I had in the US. I was kind of excited about it. I had like a private bathroom, which was like my step for me. And in general, the cities are amazing. Like the rooms and the city. Like personally, I lived in Sydney, and I was 5 minutes away from the Opera House. So guys, it kind of shows already like the good placement. And the place where I was been, it was close to Chinatown, and food all basically for free, almost for free. Like the noodles, ramen, and everything. It was great. And speaking about like friends and all of that stuff, I'm pretty sure Camila, Michaela, Samirin, and I can say like first 2 weeks obviously gonna be hard because for everybody it's like you're excited and stuff, but like just take it slowly, I would say. And later on, you will definitely be able to engage more and like just get to know local people. So, and especially if you're going with somebody from your university, you probably will like already have a connection. But if you don't, there's definitely going to be people who also didn't go with anybody. So you will have like a connection because of that. So.
I love that. And I want to hear more from you all on this topic. I'm going to throw one more thing in the mix. As we're talking about this topic in general, we also had someone who had a question for you, Michaela, but really we could open up to almost anyone about taking study center classes versus taking classes at the local university. So I'll also add to Vova's point, there are a lot of ways to connect with both other students studying abroad from the US or around the world, as well as local students too. So kind of going along this topic of connecting with other students, housing, day-to-day living. Anyone else want to chime in on any of those things? Ren?
Yeah, yeah. So decided to live alone, and so I don't have roommates, but I was able to meet American students through the program, through the orientation, or just through classes. And also, one of my classes was merged with local students, and so I was able to meet a lot of local students and then explore the city with them, which is really cool. And then I think it really gave a refreshing point of view, like looking through the city from a local's perspective. So it's really cool.
And that's a great point as well. Every program starts with orientation. So there's definitely going to be an opportunity to meet other students who are experiencing the same thing as you are. And then, of course, starting classes as well. Other thoughts from the group?
I can talk about my housing because I lived with a host family.
Oh, yes,
So
please do.
the first week was definitely the hardest, especially because I didn't know that much Spanish going into it. Um and they spoke basically only Spanish, so it was kind of hard there. But they were really good about like trying to make me as comfortable as possible. Like they did everything in their power to help me in my experience. And I feel like after you get comfortable enough, you kind of just tell them exactly what you want because that's what they want from you is just to like talk to them like they're actually your family. Um, it gets a lot better. Like Vova was saying, like the first week is definitely the hardest. And that kind of made it harder for me to make friends in the beginning because of how like stressed out I was with my host family. But it got like exponentially better very quickly. Like once I just like got more comfortable with them. And I definitely made friends at orientation as well. I do agree with that.
I love that. And thank you for sharing about the host family experience. I know it can be daunting when people first undertake it, but what I hear, I feel like from almost everyone who's taken the chance on it is it's an unparalleled way to get to know the culture, to get to learn the language. Such a cool opportunity for anyone who feels comfortable diving in and taking a chance on it. Michaela, because the study center question was directed at you specifically, can I pass it over to you to talk anything about like your day-to-day with either classes or kind of making connections?
Yeah, kind of tying all of those topics together. I do take all of my courses currently at the CEA CAPA Study Center, but I know that that might just be my personal schedule because there are some of my classmates who do go to the local university for some of their classes. But my housing, I live in a residence hall, and I can agree that it definitely is better than any dorms at my home university. So it's been really nice. So while I'm not really meeting any students at the CEA CAPA Center that obviously are like not CEA CAPA students, my residence hall is filled with college students from all over the world and that are doing study abroad in Barcelona through so many different schools. So there are a lot of events that my residence hall like offers in our lobby all the time, like whether it's like workout classes or cooking downstairs. So there are a lot of ways to meet people, and it's a really nice building. So I would also recommend the residence halls as a housing option for sure.
Wonderful. Anyone else want to chime in? I'm going to shift topics just a little. So I want to give everyone a chance to chime in if you have additional thoughts about this one. All right. So I saw some questions about funding, specifically about like budgeting while you're on site. I saw a great question about specifically preparing for finances abroad, and thinking about the internship. Since it's not a paid internship, how do you balance that? One thing I just want to point out kind of from a behind the scenes perspective is since all of our internships are for academic credit, in most instances, always check with your university, but students are able to apply their tuition dollars to their experience abroad. And so that really helps make it much more financially possible. But my two questions for you all is, do you want to talk about anything that you did to help finance your time abroad, whether that was from the tuition perspective or how you prepped and budgeted to be abroad? I know that's a big question, so I'll give you a second to think about any tips that you want to share. While you're thinking, I'll throw out a couple of things as well. Always great to check with your institution on any scholarships that are available. CEA CAPA also has scholarships that you can apply to. And there's also some scholarships that can be applied no matter what university you're studying at in the US, like the Gilman, that I highly recommend looking into. So definitely, if you're thinking study abroad is not a possibility for you from a financial perspective, we would love to talk to you about that and share some insights and places that you can get started in prepping. But Vova, I saw you came off mute.
Yes,
I hand it
yes,
over to
yes.
you to chime in as well.
So here's the thing. I feel like as a Ukrainian person, I can definitely speak about from perspective from all of the poor people. Here's the thing. If you want to go abroad, especially if you're going to like more or less like expensive city like London, Sydney, or Barcelona, my perspective, like if you have a scholarship and all of that stuff, definitely apply beforehand also for everything, because like you obviously everybody wants to have more money when they're gonna be going to their trip for like 5 months or less. So in Sydney, I would definitely say, like, because I didn't have a meal plan in there. Meal plan is actually a big thing. So research if your program has a meal plan or not implemented in it. So if you don't have a meal plan, I would definitely suggest to actually prepare literally just like, I don't know, a couple of $1,000 just for your meal expenses, then a couple of thousand for just your traveling, and everything else can be your everyday money, which you can just spend on whatever you want. But definitely like have couple of dollars just on food and couple of dollars just on traveling. And because this is like the two big things which was happening for me. So that's how I financed it.
And that was a great way to frame it too, Vova, thinking about your own personal priorities, anything that you feel is a very important need. And there are some budget resources available on the CEA CAPA website. So I recommend taking a look at those and trying to map out what's going to be the best fit for you. And then also considering, are you studying in a city where things might be a little bit more expensive on site or less expensive on site, and factoring what your priorities are and what feels possible for you. And then, of course, as I said, reaching out for support and advice is always great as well. I see Victoria. Do you have your hand raised? Would you like to share?
Yeah, is it okay if I add?
Yeah.
Is that something
My awesome
there on
colleague
the
Victoria is coming off mute to share. Please do.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Victoria Learman. I'm an admissions counselor for CEA CAPA, so I'm kind of the first person that helps you, find the program that's going to meet all your needs as well as complete your application. So I get this question a lot in terms of financing the program. As Heather already mentioned, we have scholarships available. Your university may have scholarships available for you. Your university may also let you use your financial aid, but how much to budget for personally and independently will vary person to person, as well as program length, as well as destination. Destinations like London and Sydney are going to be more expensive than Granada, that are going to be more expensive than Florence. So we really do have, such a wide variety of program offerings that do meet, many students' needs. And whatever end you fall on that budget spectrum. So we are always happy to talk with you about this more one-on-one. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out to us directly as well.
Thanks, Victoria. And that was an awesome plug to say that our staff members are wonderful and they love chatting with you and talking to you about your goals for your time abroad. So please, please, please take us up on it. Know that we want to help you find the absolute best opportunity, best fit for your needs and your goals. So thank you, Victoria, for sharing a little bit more. To shift again a little bit, I also saw some questions around things like packing and some of the more practical elements of study abroad and interning abroad. So I think that ties really great into a question that I always have about just advice for others who are preparing to study abroad, whether it's something really practical like packing, or something that you wish you had prepared for, or to encourage people to take the leap and go. Any advice that you all would like to share with our audience today? Camilla.
I will share a little bit about my packing experience. Honestly, don't get your suitcase full because you're gonna buy things and like it's gonna be a problem when you want to go back. So definitely just pack what you really need and research the weather as well. So you know what exactly to pack and just pack what you're definitely gonna need, no extras. So
I can echo that.
yeah.
And great point about the weather, because also depending on how long you're going abroad, it might be different when you arrive than when you depart.
Yeah.
Southern hemisphere is opposite from northern hemisphere. So getting to know times of years, temperatures, all of that is really helpful.
Yeah.
Any other advice, packing related or otherwise, anyone wants to chime in with?
Go
Related
ahead,
to
Rin, go ahead, Rin.
packing, I would say I tried to like pack a lot of like household items, but then just because I thought it'd be too much of a hassle to get it there, but actually like especially in Paris, there's like a lot of stuff stores that they call it, where they sell a lot of like household appliances and a lot of random things for really cheap. And so I feel like just like finding those little spots, and like you can ask CA Kappa staffs about it, but you can definitely find a lot of things that you need for household really cheap while you're abroad. So I recommend not overpacking as well.
I agree. Vote number 2 for overpack, not overpacking there. Vova, you started to chime in as well.
Yes, it says. Actually, I want to say the only thing which I would suggest to pack is the medicine, because medicine usually like it's in general very harder to find the medicine which you want in the new city. So pack your medicine which you need for sure. The only exception would be that if, for example, for me, I went to Kappa in Sydney. Because of that, the sunscreen, I thought, yeah, I will just buy a sunscreen here in US and just brought it there. But in Sydney, there's different kind of sunscreen. So like research this kind of small details, because like the sunscreen which I bought in US didn't help me at all when I was in Sydney. So I just kind of threw it away in the trash and bought the correct one. So research some things which people usually buy themselves in there. Especially, it would be amazing if you have somebody like who already went to that program to tell you that. If somebody is going to Sydney, hit me up.
I love that. Thanks, Vova. And there was a great note dropped in the chat just to give everyone a heads up that CEA CAPA will provide you with a packing list during your pre-departure process. And I would also highly recommend, Vova mentioned something really important, which is medication. It can vary country to country in terms of what's available, what's legal. Sometimes you need a doctor's note. Sometimes you need to bring an entire supply with you in advance, and there'll be questions related to getting that approved with insurance and things. So I definitely recommend reaching out to us for any questions you have, any support you need. That's what we are here for. Let's see, other questions coming in. Does anyone else want to chime in on the subject? I know we've been very packing focused, but any other advice anyone wants to chime in with? All right, my question just disappeared. Somebody must have answered it. I love it. Well, I've got a whole list of questions that I want to hear more from you all about as well. So we've asked about a piece of advice. I always love to ask, and Michaela, I know you're still living the whole experience right now, but especially for my alumni, what's your number one favorite thing to tell people about your time abroad? When you got back and people were like, how's Spain? How's London? How's Sydney? If you had to boil it down to one thing, what's your number one favorite thing you tell people about your time abroad? Simi.
When I was in Spain, we had like a little long weekend where we didn't have classes, and I actually took a solo trip all by myself to Madrid And I stayed in an Airbnb and I just did whatever I wanted for 3 straight days. And I love telling people about it because I would literally do whatever I wanted. Nobody knew what I was doing. I remember like eating a burger at a random park bench at like 2 in the morning and then riding a scooter in Madrid. Like I just did whatever I wanted. And I love telling people about it.
I love those moments where you realize oftentimes while you're abroad that you're capable of so much more than you might have thought. Those are some of my favorite moments. Other favorite memories, other favorite things to share?
In my experience, going to London was like it really changed my perspective and my way of thinking in a positive way because London is a super multicultural city, so that definitely expanded my horizons and now I'm able to see like life from a different perspective. I can say like literally I grew so much during my time there and I'm very grateful I did it. So don't be afraid, get out of your comfort zone and just do it.
I love that. I love that so much. Bova.
Um, so I want to say that like Australia, obviously kangaroos and koalas and all of that stuff. But for the person who traveled so much as an international student, I just want to say that whoever thinks that oh yeah, I traveled so much in the world, like I already will be okay with everything. You will not because you will live there for 4 months and not just for 2 weeks. So that's the thing which I would say. Just this was the most incredible thing for me because even though I traveled, but I never actually stayed and lived to be a local for a tiny bit. So that was my favorite personal thing to do.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, studying abroad, there's so much opportunity to experience so many different parts of the world, especially when you are in like a European location where it's really easy to travel around a lot. But there's nothing like enjoying that element and also sitting with the culture that you're in. Because I mean, I studied abroad so long ago, and I can tell you that even though I've gotten to do a lot of traveling afterwards, nothing was like spending a full 5 months getting to know a culture inside and out. It's sometimes those like small moments that you weren't expecting that teach you the most about the culture and the most about yourself and your own culture too. So I love that you brought that point up, Boba. Did you
Where
want
did you
to?
go, Heather? I was just curious.
Where did I go? Oh, that's a
Yes.
great question. I studied abroad in Northern Ireland, in Londonderry or Derry, depending on who you ask. But
Belfast?
very close to Belfast, yeah. And it's been a minute. I won't tell you how long, but a little while. And I still talk about my study abroad all day long. So if you're thinking it's going to get better at some point, it won't.
Okay, wonderful.
Michaela, Ren, do you all want to chime in? I want to make sure I give everyone the chance to share.
This is a hard question because, like you said, I am still, living in it. But I think that the biggest thing has been I go to school in Syracuse, which is a very snowy city. So I've been walking to class like in a short sleeve shirt, and all of my peers at Syracuse are literally in like a snowstorm right now. So like being able to just go to the beach every day here, I've really like taken advantage of the nice weather. So yeah, also just being in like the region of Catalonia has been really, really cool. Like for traveling, a lot of people, especially in European cities, like immediately want to go on international flights and go on these really expensive weekend trips. But Barcelona has so many day trips that are very cheap, like by bus or by train. And it's just so easy to get around here and also like learn the region of Catalonia that we're living in. So yeah, it's been really awesome. But who knows, my answer might change in a couple months. So
I will circle back and ask you again. But all of those things, it's such a great point, and it ties into what we were just talking about, where there's so many benefits to really experiencing your whole host culture fully. There's so many things to explore. But you also talked about something that we haven't touched on yet, which is transportation is so different in many other places around the world than it is in the US. And I couldn't agree more that it can feel a little scary to go someplace without a car when you're in the US. Many places are only accessible via car, but to know that everything is very interconnected. Exploration locally is totally possible. Anyone else want to add anything about that element of your time abroad and just taking full advantage of your surroundings and how you navigated things locally?
Um, in London, you have to use the tube and the bus to go everywhere. And at the beginning, it was very hard. Like it was like so many lines, and the tube in London is crazy. There's like, I don't know, 11 lines, different colors. You have to change trains. Like it's, so it was honestly like never used that much of public transportation. So at the beginning, it was very overwhelming. Like you get the wrong train, so you have to go back, switch. But by the end, like now, if you tell me, oh, go to London, go from this place to this place, like I will be able to do it without even checking Google Maps or anything. Like you start like being a local so much, like after a couple months, well, weeks, depending on how fast you adjust, but like it's gonna be fine after a couple weeks.
Absolutely. And that actually, I feel like you could almost use that as an example for everything in your time abroad, where you get there and it feels like maybe more insurmountable than you think it's going to be, or like the culture shock sets in and you can feel a little disoriented. But embracing the experience, asking for help when you need it, you know, relying on CEA CAPA, it's such a great opportunity for growth. And again, like I said earlier, I think we're all capable of so much more than we thought. And I love that study abroad, education abroad brings that out in all of us. Ren, I feel like I didn't give you the chance to share something that you love to touch on with your time abroad when people ask you about it. Can I circle back to you with that question?
I would say like just traveling in general. Like I really like realized my true love for traveling while abroad. Like just because like for London, I went to London for like 60 euros there and back. And then like every weekend I would go somewhere, like whether it's in France or if it's like Italy, or we went to excursion to Belgium also. And then just traveling and then exploring was really fun for me.
I love that. I love that. And talking about kind of how we go places and access things, Victoria dropped another great note in the chat, which is to say it totally varies based on location and where you are in terms of how travel will work if you experience a long commute or a need to access public transportation. So if that feels overwhelming at all, know that there, you know, in smaller locations like Granada, things might feel a little like commutes might be shorter, things might feel a little bit more accessible. So when you think about what your best fit experience for your time abroad is, you can consider all of these factors and identifying kind of the best place for you from an academic perspective, but also based on where you want to be. I love that. Well, we have a couple more minutes, and I think we're doing great answering all of the questions. I'm very proud of us for staying on top of it. But I'd love to save time. I know we've started touching on this a little bit, but I always like to ask for anyone who's hesitant to study or intern abroad and they're thinking it might not be for them or they're feeling nervous about taking the leap, what would you all say to folks who are still maybe on the fence about whether or not they want to move forward with it?
I can immediately jump in. I would actually say an example from my personal experience. If I would never leave Ukraine, if I would never study abroad, it would be just sad. Like, what the hell? Our planet, like, in my opinion, it was made to explore. Like, my biggest dream is to literally travel on every single continent. And in my opinion, I know everybody's really comfortable in their hometown and you don't want to leave because you're so used to it. But like, if you think about a different adventure and how it can change your life and just give you a different perspective in life and how it just can make such an impact on people. Like I hear all of the stories around the world, like how somebody went abroad and they fell in love in there, or like they just literally moved there permanently. So just try it out and see how your life can be changed by just changing your perspective. So I'm an example, and I'm sure Camila, Michaela, and Sami and Rin can say the same thing. So, and Heather as well. You see, she went abroad, and where is she right now? Working for Study Abroad office. So that's one of the another examples.
Yes, Boba, bringing it full circle. We did also have a question earlier about, now that you studied abroad, do you plan or do you know anyone who plans to go abroad again? And while you all are thinking about what you would say to folks to encourage them to go abroad, I can kind of add to what Bova said and share that there's so many opportunities to use this experience for your professional future, whether it's building the confidence to go internationally again for grad school or for a future job or internship, or really just thinking about how currently only 2% of American college students study abroad every year and how you'll be in the minority of students entering the workplace that have these experiences that show your resilience and your ability to adapt and your ability to communicate across communities and situations of difference. Anyway, I'm getting on my soapbox, but I so believe it's a wonderful opportunity. So thank you for sharing that, Boba. Other thoughts on what you all would say to folks who are feeling on the fence about whether or not they want to go abroad? Camilla, I saw you come off mute.
Just to add a couple more things of what you already say, I completely agree with everything. And I'm gonna just say, like, of course you're gonna be nervous. It's gonna be hard to go far away from home. And also, I'm also an international student here. I'm from Mexico, so it was my study abroad for my study abroad, and I loved it. I'll do it again because everywhere you go, you're gonna meet different people. You're gonna know different places, try different food. So it's gonna be all different, and that's the good part of it. So definitely just give it a shot, try it, and just do it. Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna start calling on people. Simi, can I pass it over to you to share your final thoughts and encouragements?
I remember I kind of decided to study abroad a little bit on a whim. Like I just applied and then I got in and I was like, dang, I don't know if I actually want to do this. Um, but it's like it's worth the stress of like the beginning. Like I feel like in the beginning I was so stressed out, but like by the end of my like study abroad experience, I was like it was totally worth it. Like I talk about it like all the time. Like it was definitely worth it. I feel like if it's the stress that's stopping you from it, just remember that it will be worth it in the end.
Absolutely. I love it. Michaela, can I hand it over to you? How are you feeling in the middle of it? Are we still feeling really strong on our choices?
Yeah, it's been awesome. To go back on the financial burden and financial anxiety, I am a first generation college student and my family is very low income. So I was the first person in my family to go to college and now to study abroad. So it's been really awesome to like call my parents and like send them photos of what I've been up to. I didn't even have a passport until last year. So being able to use my financial aid and scholarships to fund this experience that I otherwise like would never be able to do has been so cool. So if anybody is in that same boat and would never be able to afford a trip like this, but is able to through their school, I say definitely get on that. And yeah, it's been awesome.
And that's such a great call out, Michaela, too. We're all approaching the experience from different perspectives and identities and needs. And so connecting with CEA CAPA to find your support systems, but connecting to your institution as well. And I mentioned at the beginning, reaching out to other students who've done it, whether it's our alumni ambassadors or other students on your campus. There's a high likelihood that you'll find someone with a shared experience. And our goal at CEA CAPA absolutely is to help make study abroad more accessible to more people. So it's always something that we want to talk about. And I love that you found a path to it, Michaela. We're so happy you're abroad with us right now. Who else? Ren, I need to pass it over to you as well, I feel like.
Yeah, I think also like the financial stuff that Michaela said, definitely scholarships help and finding different ways, like whether it's personal budget or whatnot. And also like just making sure that you like study abroad, like that you stay on top of your academics is for sure important. And then there's also always like academic help, whether it's from your professors or if it was for my French. I remember one of the front desk staff like offered a tutor session for French. And so that really helped. And just like if there's any concerns, I always ask the staff. And they were always really helpful and connected me to the right person to do so. And so just asking people, I think, would be my advice.
Absolutely. That's such smart advice. I can also say that not every moment of the study abroad or internship abroad experience will feel the same. There might be moments of overwhelm. There might be moments of empowerment, and leaning into your networks is always a great point. I think somebody asked a question earlier about like health and safety, and health insurance is something that CEA CAPA provides for every student. So whether it's reaching out for some more formalized help, that's something we can support with. connecting you with staff that can support you or other students who shared your experiences. Those are all things that we love to do to help make the experience as positive as possible. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to those who came and asked some really great questions. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.